Peterson, do you have any comments on the Nazi presence at your protest? The presence of Nazis and white supremacists assaulting people at your protest. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I don't like Nazis.
Then why are you?
Why were they here?
Well, how can I answer
Are there views in alignment with yours?
At some point, you have to realize.
That's a foolish question. Look, if you want to know what my views are,
I've watched all of your videos. Yes.
Including
Yes, I have.
Yes.
then why would you ask such a question?
Because this is my interpretation of your videos.
Apparently,
That's
all of the people who arranged the protest against you watched all of your videos.
It's like, do you want to
I
disavow?
have 150 videos on YouTube.
No, your lectures, which sparked the debate.
Okay.
Do you want to disavow the support?
Could you let
of
me
white-
talk to her for a moment?
Don't call me that, please.
So, I have 150 lectures on YouTube. There's 500 hours of my views.
Do you really
If
think that
wanna
you're
find
worth
out
all
what
of
they
that
were-
time?
So look, I will answer your question, okay? I've studied Nazism for a very long time. It's been 4 decades, and I understand it very well. And I can tell you that there's some awful people lurking in the corners, and they're ready to come out. And if the radical left keeps pushing the way
That sounds very much like a
they're
threat.
going to come.
That sounds very much
It's
like
not
a threat.
threat.
That sounds very much like a threat. Would you like to disavow the physical violence? Trans people were physically assaulted at this rally in your name. Would you like to disavow that violence?
Yes.
So you wish that didn't happen, and you want to,
Absolutely.
and I'm going to post this online that you would like people to not to be more accommodating of trans people and people of color at your events in future.
I would
I'm
like
a
there
person
to
of
be
color.
no
Listen,
violence.
I'm a person of color, and I felt very accommodating here. I felt like my voice. Thank you
I'm
very much.
also former Muslim, and I feel like this guy
I'm a
is the
person
best.
of color.
I
There are
love
many
his
Muslims.
videos.
You wanted to
All
disavow.
agreement.
You wanted to disavow, and this is the disavowal. I am not an advocate of violence. I'm speaking out the way I'm speaking out because I think this is a route to no violence. And violence is lurking. And you can say that sounds like a threat.
There was
It's
no
not a
violence at
threat.
our protest, though. There was violence at your protest. So what does that say about our
It's
views?
not my
That's
protest.
violence.
You know,
I
asking me continually freighted questions isn't very helpful if you
riot,
actually want to
that's
have a
all
dialogue.
false.
You have no idea if I'm your enemy. You have no idea about me.
You won't use
Nothing.
my pronouns, so I'm pretty sure you're my enemy. Yes.
Yeah, well, I know you think that, but I don't believe that using your pronouns is going to do you any good in the long run. I think it'll do quite the contrary.
What?
Is that your medical
Like,
opinion?
what, is that your medical opinion? Like, you are aware that non-binary people are valid in the American Psychological
This isn't about
Association.
non-binary
Is that your opinion?
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's about non-binary pronouns.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I'm saying that that's
Did
what
you
I'm
come to the
about.
rally? Were you there when I spoke?
I've been here for this whole thing.
Okay, well, I don't know that. It's a genuine question. Look, I think that's what's happening is that we're pushing over a line we shouldn't cross. The newest legislation is requiring people to use.
But you are aware that that's being put in place so that we can't get fired. We need to be written into the Canada human rights legislation, or we can be fired for our gender identity.
I'm not aware of that.
Well, then why did you make a fucking video about it? I've been denied housing as a trans person. These rights would protect me.
Denied housing?
I've been denied housing.
From the state or for the open market? So have you been denied housing, like, from the government?
It's illegal
From
either
the
way
government?
if we had
From the
human
government?
rights.
From the government?
I'm not-
Or have you tried to get a house like everybody else and they said, no, you're weird, you can't work? No, if the state has done that, that's a problem.
they said-
but if someone doesn't want to live with you, that's their right.
They said, no, you're trans.
not sure how you-
So no, if I had human rights, that wouldn't have fucking happened.
Yeah,
far as
you're
I'm
weird.
concerned,
I don't want to live with schizophrenic
As far as
people.
I'm
I don't want to live
concerned,
with people who are
that's a
bipolar.
terrible
I don't
thing.
wanna live with
It's too bad that that's happened.
So
to
you don't want us to, but you don't want us to have protections in the human rights bill that will allow me to have employment,
I don't
allow
want-
me to have housing security,
I don't want-
allow me to have medical care. That's what this is about.
That's
It's
what
not
you
about
think it's
infringing
about.
on your rights or making you learn a new
I
fucking
don't
pronoun.
think that's what it's about. What evidence do you have that attempting to transform the way that people use pronouns is going to produce a positive effect?
Because
on
are you aware that there is a trans boy who killed himself in psychiatric care recently because he was continuously being misgendered by his care workers?
And that is my concise problem.
And there have been multiple recorded instances of trans people killing themselves because they are not being integrated into society. We are not looking for special treatment. We are looking to be able to integrate ourselves into society. And if you refuse to refer to us by our pronouns, which is not allowed to ask, singular they pronouns go all the way back to Shakespeare. It's not a new thing. If you refuse to let us integrate ourselves into society, you create alienation that results in suicide. We are in a suicide epidemic right now. What are you contributing to this as a psychologist?
Man, you know, you're almost impossible to talk to. You're so full of rhetoric that it's impossible to listen to you.
The feeling
I would
is
be more than
mutual.
happy to listen to you.
Yeah,
I didn't say I was devoid of rhetoric. And I don't really think I am a rhetorician. Just so you know that. And you know, like, it's very hard to listen to you. I mean, it's very hard to attend to you
because
you rattle on in your with your ideological speech.
It's not ideological. It's personal. That's what you.
It's not personal. You haven't said a personal thing.
I'm talking about something that affects my community.
It's just that when you say the things that you say, it tends, even if you didn't mean it to, it attracts people like neo-Nazis and fascists because they see an avenue in what you're saying to do what they want. Even if that's not what you meant, they see an avenue in your in the idea of like a more abscondist form of free speech. They see an avenue in that to continue to spread their hateful ideology and to make more people hateful. So that's why the Nazis come here. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that's why that was.
I'm perfectly aware of that.
I have a calm, rational question.
Okay.
I won't get emotional with you. So, who is this legislation harming? Who is
harming anybody who wants to use their own words?
So in what capacities? Be specific.
Look, it's important that people are able to use their own words.
Okay.
Because that's how we think. And if the government starts legislating how we think, and
so if I wanted to call you she,
are you going to let me
no, I'm playing off of what you're saying. If I wanted to call you she and her and miss, because that's my freedom of speech, and if everyone just called you that all the time, and that was the only thing,
can't you tell?
I think that you don't care because you've never had to face that, and it's a common trend among people who have never had to face like transgender-related discrimination that you think it's not a big deal because you don't have to deal with it.
I didn't say I didn't think it was a big deal. I said I didn't care if people called me that.
Public institutions, but it does prevent us from accessing healthcare. It does prevent us from accessing other services.
I'm not arguing about your rights.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. It's about our rights. I'm sorry. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you realize that right now, if you were to kill a trans person, because only for the sole reason that they're trans, that would not be considered a hate crime. Sure, they could be convicted of murder, but not of a hate crime. And that's what this bill.
That's what
this in the States, they can use a trans panic defense in almost all of the United States and get off by claiming temporary insanity because they were freaked out by the trans person.
I am not claiming for a moment that people who don't fit into standard and traditional sexual categories or sexual identity categories don't face all sorts of trouble. They do. I just don't think that this is the way to fix it. In fact, I think
do you not allow that legislates protections from discrimination for trans people?
not this
way. You do not think that.
That's right. I don't think.
Have you read the laws are intentionally worded?
Bring as many
most
people,
laws involving human rights.
As much trouble to as many people as possible.
What would we gain? What would we gain from that?
There's a conspiracy of intent.
I didn't say it was a conspiracy.
There is a concentrated effort behind these bills in order to specifically make the lives of people worse, and that's why we create human rights legislation to make it.
I think that people often do things to make other people's lives worse. Don't you?
Well, clearly, as an example of this rally.
I am probably the most fervent anti-statist you will ever meet. I am an anarchist, and I do not believe that anyone who writes legislation has the interest of anybody but themselves and their special interest groups at heart. So don't come at me saying that I want to suck off the nipple of the government, okay? Because that's not who I am. What I'm interested is in that people I love are being assaulted, are being killed, are being discriminated against, are being kicked out onto the street, are freezing to death in the winter because they're being denied shelter. And I feel.
But pronouns are too much to ask for you to show solidarity towards those people.
Can I just have a moment?
Sorry.
Look, we agree that this is a thing that's happening. We agree that it's a reprehensible thing that's happening.
Okay, sure, let's agree on that.
I mean, I don't think that would be controversial to most people. I mean, apparently,
I agree.
Apparently, some people think. Apparently, to some people, we're freaks because we can't have families or whatever. But what okay, whatever. Maybe that's not something you agree with. I don't know. I'm not going to put words in your mouth in that regard.
I agree with.
What I fail to understand is how you honestly feel, in your expert opinion, as both an educator, as an educated person, that not calling somebody by a pronoun that has been used to refer to individual people.
No, I think it's legislating it. It's legislating it as a necessity that I have an objection to.
Okay, so if there was this legislation was not on the table, if this legislation fails, let's say, if this is removed, you would be totally fine referring to me with they them pronouns.
Probably not they and them.
Probably not they and them. Why is that?
Well, because I don't think it's a tenable solution.
I don't think it's what?
I don't think it's a solution to the problem that you're trying to solve. I mean, it's not. Look, it's not that easy to track that. I know that's how you.
You were literally saying
you can make up a word and make that a child's name, and you would refer to them by that name. Why is it different for a pronoun?
Well, it's different because it's different. Because
No, it's not just as
you were
important.
just asked.
It's different because it's a pronoun for a lot of reasons.
So you
I mean, one of the reasons it's different is that pronouns turn out to be very difficult to change. They're closed linguistic.
Which is why we're using they them pronouns, which has historical continuity.
Yeah,
it is in the English language. It's in the Oxford English Dictionary.
Years and years and years, it's nothing new.
As an educator, okay, hold on. Sorry, yeah.
You were asked, would you refer to me using they them pronouns? You said, no, I wouldn't. When asked why, you said, because I don't think it's a solution. When I brought up then it was basic respect and so on, what you said was, oh, I wouldn't do it if I was like coerced or whatever you said. Somebody literally just asked, would you do this for me? And you said, no, I would not show you that respect. I would not extend that amount of dignity to you.
That's not what I said.
Yes, you said
You said that you would not use they them pronouns for a person.
Nobody
Yes, I did say that.
Nobody asked anything about if I came like with a club and asked you to like use certain pronouns to refer to me.
What makes you
I just asked, would you refer to me if it wasn't for this law and I asked you to refer to me with they them pronouns, would you? And your answer was no.
Not if I was compelled to.
No.
But we're saying if you weren't.
You said no, and then when I started asking you about, you said it wasn't a solution. When you were asked, what is it not a solution to? You said something vague. We said it's about basic respect, and then you said not if I was compelled to. So no, when you were just asked, as a matter of respect, in fact, would you refer to a trans person who asked you to use they them pronouns, a pronoun which has a several hundred-year historical.
But that's not what we're talking about.
Yes, it is because it's legislation.
We're saying if it wasn't legislation.
It's not legislation.
I've got to stop, guys. There's too many of you.
Okay, one simple question.
I've had enough. Sorry, I can't do this.
One simple question.
No, I'm done.
I thought we were statistically irrelevant.
If it was
Well, yeah, I mean, like,
law,
I don't
and
exist.
a trans person asked you, would you please refer to me by they and them pronouns? Would you refer to them by those pronouns?
Might depend on how they asked.
So no.
Why do you have the authority to determine
please
whether or
refer
not
to me.
Why do I have the authority to determine what I say?
What
kind of question
Why do
is
you have
that?
the authority? Let me finish. Why do you have the authority to determine whether or not an individual is worthy of you using their pronouns? Like, if I asked you, would you please use they them pronouns for me? What?
It would depend on what I
What
thought of your
hoops
motivation.
do you want us to jump through?
Those are my pronouns. Those are my
There's no
pronouns.
motivation.
No, I know. No one ever has any motivation.
We're
Those are
trying
my
to
pronouns.
survive. Politics are a product of our lives and us trying to live in this world. We're not trying to live in this world as a product of our
you want me to
politics.
send you
I was
flowers?
apolitical before I came out as trans. I got into politics because I needed to survive, to advocate against people like you, no offense. I have one quick question. Okay, so they them pronouns are written into the Oxford English Dictionary, the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. It's actually the word of the year this year, and it does have historical continuity all the way back to Shakespeare. It is objectively an English word, singular they pronouns, grammatically correct. Do you think that you can choose to not respect something that is in the English language as a professor, as an academic, you are going to
Absolutely, I am choosing.
You're ignoring rules of the English language to go out of your way to disrespect students?
That's your opinion, and I'm not going.
It is my
to
opinion.
disrespect students.
We're saying it's disrespectful
Anyway,
to
I'm
us.
sorry.
You don't get to decide what's disrespectful to us.